May 7th, 2021. Somewhere in southeastern United States, people are waking up to a normal Friday morning. Coffee, commute, fill up the tank. But inside a control room in Alpharetta, Georgia, something is very, very wrong. Screens are frozen, files are locked, and a ransom note has appeared on company computers with a chilling message. We are DarkSide. Within hours, the largest fuel pipeline in the United States has been shut down. 5,500 miles of pipeline carrying about 45% of the East Coast's fuel supply dead silent. No gas is moving. And America is about to panic. Welcome to Threat Files, where we step inside the breach. I'm your host, and today we open the file on one of the most disruptive cyber attacks in American history. This is the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack. Before we get into the hack itself, you need to understand what Colonial Pipeline actually is, because most people had never heard of it before this attack. Colonial Pipeline is a private company that operates a massive underground pipeline system running from Houston, Texas, all the way up to New Jersey. Think of it as a hidden highway beneath your feet, but instead of cars, it carries jet fuel, diesel, and gasoline. Every single day, this pipeline moves roughly 100 million gallons of fuel. It supplies gas stations, airports, and military bases across 13 states. When you fill up your car in Atlanta, Charlotte, or Washington, D.C., there's a good chance that fuel traveled through Colonial's pipes. It is, in short, critical infrastructure, the kind of system that a country cannot function without. And on the morning of May 7th, 2021, it was brought to its knees. Not by a missile, not by a bomb, but by a single piece of malicious software. So, how do you hack a pipeline? Here's what makes this story so unsettling. It wasn't some elaborate Hollywood-style intrusion. No team of elite hackers tunneling through firewalls in real time. The attackers got in through one of the most common weaknesses in cybersecurity: a single compromised password. Investigators later discovered that the attackers gained access to Colonial's network through a VPN account. That's a virtual private network. Basically, a remote access tool that lets employees log into the company's systems from outside the office. This particular VPN account was no longer actively in use, but it was still open, still accessible. And the password for that account had been leaked. It was found later in a batch of stolen credentials on the dark web, meaning at some point, that password had been compromised elsewhere, and the employee had likely reused it. The attackers, a ransomware group called DarkSide, slipped in quietly. They didn't immediately blow anything up. Instead, they did what sophisticated cybercriminals always do. They moved slowly. They explored the network. They mapped it. They identified the most valuable data. Over the course of roughly 2 hours, they exfiltrated nearly 100 gigabytes of sensitive data, stealing it before they even deployed the ransomware. This is called a double extraction attack. First, they steal your data, then they lock it. Now you're facing 2 threats: pay up or we release everything publicly. Then came the ransomware itself. DarkSide's malware swept through Colonial's IT systems, encrypting files, locking operators out of their own data. When employees arrived at work that morning and tried to log in, they were greeted by that ransom note. We have your data. Pay us and we'll give you the key. The demanded ransom? Approximately $4.4 million in Bitcoin. Now here's a critical detail that most people get wrong about this story. Colonial Pipeline didn't shut down because the operational systems, the ones that actually control the physical flow of fuel, were directly hacked. The pipeline itself wasn't compromised in that sense. Colonial chose to shut it down. Why? Because the ransomware had hit their billing and IT systems. And without those, they couldn't track how much fuel was flowing, who was receiving it, or how to invoice customers. Running a pipeline blind with no data systems creates both financial chaos and potentially safety risks. So the decision was made: shut it all down until the situation was resolved. That decision, however understandable, triggered a crisis. Gas stations up and down the East Coast began running dry. Panic buying swept through the states like Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, and Florida. Drivers waited in lines stretching around the block. Fistfights broke out at pumps. People were filling up garbage bags, literal plastic garbage bags, with gasoline. The US government declared a regional state of emergency. Airlines began rerouting flights. The average gas price spiked above $3 a gallon for the first time in years. For 6 days, the largest fuel pipeline in the country sat silent. 6 days of chaos from one leaked password. So who are the people behind this? Who is DarkSide? DarkSide is a ransomware-as-a-service operation. And that phrase is worth unpacking because it reveals just how sophisticated the cybercriminal ecosystem has become. Think of it like a criminal franchise. DarkSide's core developers create and maintain the ransomware software. Then they lease it out to affiliates, other criminal groups who do the actual hacking. The profits get split. It's a business model, complete with a customer support team, a press office, and a code of conduct that claimed they wouldn't target hospitals or schools. DarkSide is believed to operate out of Russia or Eastern Europe. Cybersecurity analysts noted that their malware contained a specific instruction. If it detects that the target's computer language settings are Russian or several other Eastern European languages, it stops. It won't execute. This is a common tactic used by Russian-affiliated cybercriminals to avoid prosecution at home. After the Colonial Pipeline attack drew intense international attention, DarkSide went, well, dark. Their website disappeared, their infrastructure was taken down. Whether or not that was law enforcement pressure or simply the group going underground to rebrand remains debated. But the story doesn't end there. Faced with 6 days of shutdowns and mounting pressure, Colonial Pipeline made the controversial decision to pay the ransom. $4.4 million in Bitcoin transferred to DarkSide's wallet. In return, they received a decryption tool to unlock their files. But here's the brutal irony that cybersecurity experts will tell you again and again. The decryption tools provided by ransomware groups are often slow, buggy, and unreliable. Colonial's own IT team reportedly found the tool so ineffective that they largely restored their systems using their own backups anyway. They paid millions for software that barely worked. The pipeline came back online on May 12th. Fuel supplies gradually normalized over the following days. But the story had one more twist. In June 2021, the US Department of Justice announced something remarkable. They had recovered approximately $2.3 million of the Bitcoin ransom. The FBI had tracked the cryptocurrency through the blockchain, the public ledger that records all Bitcoin transactions, and seized it from a wallet they had the private key to. It was a rare public victory, and it sent a message: paying ransom in crypto doesn't guarantee you disappear. So what do we take away from all of this? Well, first, legacy access is a silent killer. That unused VPN account, the one nobody remembered to deactivate, was the single point of entry. Organizations often forget to clean up old accounts, old credentials, old access points. Attackers don't forget. They look for exactly these kinds of overlooked doors. Secondly, password reuse is catastrophic. One credential, leaked from somewhere else entirely, unlocked a national infrastructure company. Multi-factor authentication, requiring a second step to verify your identity, would likely have stopped this attack cold. Third, critical infrastructure is dangerously exposed. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a wake-up call for governments and companies worldwide. The systems that power our daily lives, fuel, water, electricity, hospitals, are increasingly connected to digital networks, and many of them are protected by security standards that haven't kept pace with the threat. Lastly, ransomware is an industry. This wasn't a lone genius in a hoodie. It was a criminal enterprise with employees, profit sharing, and customer service. Fighting it requires treating it like one. The Colonial Pipeline attack lasted 6 days. Its ripple effects lasted far longer. reshaping how governments think about cybersecurity, critical infrastructure, and the very real consequences of digital vulnerabilities in the physical world. One leaked password, one forgotten door. That's all it took to send millions of people scrambling for gas, to ground flights, and to trigger a national emergency. In cybersecurity, the smallest weakness is never just a technical problem. It's a human one. This has been Threat Files. Step inside the breach. If you want more real cybersecurity stories explained in simple terms, subscribe or drop a comment on what you think we should cover here at Threat Files. See you in the next file.